Krueger in for Dibs. Let's roll with Steve Kerr joining us here on Willard and Dibs and 95.7 The Game. And Steve, we've decided to butter you up today. Instead of having one of us ask the first question to you, we decided to bring in someone you like way better than us to ask you your first question of the day. His name is Kevon Looney. Are you ready for this?
I'm ready.
Okay, here it is.
I would ask him what's his favorite Barbosa story, since Barbosa is on the on the Kings coaching staff. That was my first question.
Okay, so what's your favorite Barbosa story?
My favorite Barbosa story. Gosh, that's a good question. 'Cause I've known LB a long time. We were together in Phoenix years ago when I was the GM there. He's just the most lovable character of all time. I think there's not really a story. It's just hearing his voice makes everybody smile. Just his the way he butchers the English language with that Brazilian accent. It's just beautiful. It really is.
Well, I mean, that's got to be the best story, right? Is we going to be championship? That's the best. That's the best thing ever, right there.
Yeah, LB's the best, and we're we got so many connections to this Kings team between Mike and LB, and obviously Harrison Barnes, and it's just there's a lot of parallels. Vivek going from the Warriors ownership to becoming the lead owner for Sacramento, and then a lot of connections over the years. Luke Walton becoming the coach there, and a lot of different players that have been both Kings and Warriors. So it's amazing that this is the first time the teams have ever met in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I can't wait for it. I think it's going to be great. Good to talk to you again, Steve. Mike Brown, I think, is doing something with Sacramento that I think you have done well here with the Warriors. And I've made this point many times, so if I'm repeating myself, forgive me. But I just kind of feel like, it's not necessarily about the X's and O's. Being a great coach, it's a lot about bringing the whole squad all the way through November. Now we're almost, and we're in April. The thing won't end until June potentially, and you just don't leave anybody behind. And I'm just and I think Mike did a great job. I think Sacramento's had many years where they're playing great ball, and then all of a sudden 3 weeks, guys hate each other, and there's this huge rift, and it just doesn't happen, and teams fracture. Is that from Phil? Is that something, or does that go back to Lute, or is it who would you credit that kind of the ability to just kind of say and do the right things to bring the whole squad through the season?
No, it's a good question, Larry. I think it's just it's culture, right? Whatever culture means. It's that's the vibe that the players feel every day, and I think that is the most important thing. I mean, there's so many components to this, and obviously it always comes down to talent. So you got to have talented players to win. But what do the players feel every day? And I think one of the reasons Mike has been so successful is he's just a great human being. He's got a wonderful sense of humor. He's passionate about the game. He loves people. He loves collaborating. The players feel that, and they feel his passion to get better and to work, and I just think it was a perfect fit. Really great timing. They've put together a good young core of talent, and the Sabonis trade last year. Mike took that and just built their whole offense around kind of the dribble handoff game with Sabonis and pick and roll with Fox, and it's been beautiful to watch. I mean, Mike's just done a great job, but like I said, I think just the tone that he has set every day in that gym, that locker room, that's probably the most important thing.
Steve, you talk about all the ties, and the one that is standing out for most right now is the coaching matchup and how well you and Mike know one another. How do you see that affecting this series?
I'm not sure it affects us that much. I mean, we were together 6 years, so we know Mike's defensive tendencies, the way he likes to play, but he knows the same thing about us. He knows our patterns and what our comfort zones are, and if anything, he knows he knows our team a lot better than we know theirs because he coached these guys. So he'll have some thoughts for his own team. He'll try to put them in some instances where they can take advantage of certain tendencies, that sort of thing. But that's always the case, whether you know someone or not. You get so much film on a team, and you prepare so well that there's not a lot of secrets these days.
Stevie, is surprised GP2 has had such an impact his second go-round with you guys?
No. Can't make it any simpler than that.
Very succinct.
That guy was, when I talk about it all the time, but, he went out in the playoffs last year. When he came back, he missed game one of the Celtics series, and then when he came back, we won 4 out of the next 5. And a big reason for it was his ability to guard Jaylen Brown. And so getting Gary back has been huge. He's just such a dynamic defender, one of the best in the league. And it's been obviously an easy transition because he was here, the last couple of years. He knows exactly what we're trying to do.
Steve, the report came out a couple of hours ago that Andrew Wiggins has been cleared to play for Game 1. What's the plan?
He's scrimmaged over the last week probably 4 different times, and he's gotten better and better. He's one of those guys who just he's such an incredible athlete. He's got such great genes, great gifts that a little bit like Andre Iguodala, you rarely see those guys get tired. You don't see them really fall out of shape. They don't add any weight. There's no sort of big transition period where it's like, oh boy, this is going to take a long time, for this guy to work his way back in. So I think the biggest thing with Andrew will just be the rhythm, going from not playing to the playoffs. That's a pretty big leap, but he's looked great over the last week in all these scrimmages, and he's feeling good and he's ready to go.
So is the plan to start him or bring him off the bench? Minutes restriction? What are you thinking right now?
The plan is not to tell anybody on the radio so that Mike Brown hears the information and uses it to his advantage.
Okay, but he's going to play basketball, right?
He is going to play basketball at some point.
All right. We'll accept that for now.
How about De'Aaron Fox, Steve? I mean, what he's doing in the fourth quarter is impressive. What do you see when you watch him and study him like you have this week, I'm sure?
Well, he's just lightning quick point guard who gets the ball down the floor so quickly. You have to build walls in front of him, and he'll just get by one person. If it's one guy back, he'll go right around that guy. So you have to build walls and then get out to their shooters, and that's what makes this team so dynamic offensively. Is between the penetration of Fox and the all around game of Sabonis, those guys are surrounded by shooting, a ton of shooting. And so you really have to cover a lot of ground defensively, and that's the challenge. But there's a reason they are the number 1 ranked offense in the league.
Steve, I'm sure at the end of every season, everybody is nicked up. But would you say that this is the healthiest your team has been all year? Yeah,
I would. The healthiest physically, and I think also emotionally, spiritually, however you want to put it. I feel like we're in a really good place. We've been through a lot together this year. So many ups and downs, so many individual storylines within that. Every one of our guys has had to go through a lot to get to this point, but this is what we wanted. We just wanted a chance to defend our title and hopefully be healthy and playing well when that chance came around. And that's where we are. We won 8 of our last 10, and we got Wiggs back. We got Gary Payton back. We've got guys healthy and playing at a high level, so we're in a good spot.
I love watching Draymond. You can feel his will. You played with Jordan. I felt like you could feel Jordan's will. Do you see any? I mean, they're different, totally different players and personalities, but do you see any similarities?
I do. In fact, the game, as you pointed out, the games are totally different, but the personalities are very similar. Dominating presence, maniacal competitors, incredibly passionate and intense. I think, Draymond is probably more emotional than Michael was, but Michael was, equally as intense as Draymond is. But, the end result is you got two guys who ended up just making an incredible impact on the game nightly, regardless of what the stat sheet said. And part of that is just the will and the competitive force.
Obviously, this is Steve Kerr hanging with us here on 95.7 The Game. Larry in for Dibbs. It's Willard and Dibbs. Glad you're with us this evening as we march toward Game 1 of the playoffs on Saturday right here on the home of the Warriors. Steve, so much is made in a matchup like this. The Kings have never been there, and no one's been there more than you guys. How big of a factor is that when you get to the playoffs?
Well, it's big for us. I mean, every time you go through the playoffs, something happens that you can kind of put in your memory bank and file it away and use it. And so this team, the core of this team, has been through everything. And so I think we're ready for everything. That doesn't necessarily, give us a huge edge. I mean, they're going to have all kinds of energy and excitement, and they've got home court. And so I can't really speak for their team, but I just know that for us, we're ready for whatever comes our way. Our guys have seen and done it all, and that's helpful.
You guys got so many smart people in the organization, Bob, Larry Harris, guys that may not be involved day to day on getting your team ready to play a regular season game, but do those guys have a bigger role when it comes to preparing your team for a playoff series?
Not really. One of the great things with Bob is that he knows exactly, how to balance being general manager and then letting me coach, letting guys play. Bob and I talk every single day, and so we don't keep anything from one another. We're working through this stuff together. So I may call him and say, "Hey, what do you think? I'm thinking about doing this or that," and I might, I'd pick his brain. He never calls me and says, "Hey, you should have done this or you should have done that." It's really, he's the master at understanding how to communicate with everybody, players, coaches, ownership. He just communicates so well. And then he brings it all together. He understands we're all in this together, and we're all seeking solutions to try to win the game. And there's just an ease about it. It's very natural, and he's incredible in that way.
Steve, we had such a good time earlier today talking to Kevon Looney, and I think when you reference all the emotional things your team has been through this year, it's been fascinating to hear you and others talk about Looney, because you know this. He comes across to those who don't know him well as such an aw shucks guy, but in training camp with what happened with you guys and how you talked about how he kind of stepped in as the leader when your leader was the one who kind of stepped out of line, that was really interesting to me. How would you describe the role that Looney has kind of grown into on this team?
Boy, that's a good question. He's definitely kind of our moral compass. He's the guy who just is there every single day doing exactly what he should be doing and setting an example for everybody else. And he's perfect in that role because his role changes so often. He's gone in and out of the starting lineup this year and in past years. But it never affects his preparation. It never affects his energy, his mood. If I play him for 10 minutes or if I play him for 35, you get the exact same effort. And for him to be able to be the example for all of our younger players, for me to be able to say to JK and Jordan and Moses and all these young guys, hey, watch Loon. Like, go about your business like Kevon. Like, he's the ultimate pro. I can't tell you how valuable that is to have on our team.
Coming down the stretch, I thought Kuminga and Moody were in a really good place, and I'm just kind of wondering would you say anything to them this week to help them, get ready for, the NBA second season, or do you just say, you know what, they're in a good place and let's not change anything?
No, I check in with most of the guys, going into the playoffs, and so those are obviously private conversations. But I think that's a big part of coaching is just understanding that guys are going to be in different places throughout the year. You can be on top of the world one week, and then all of a sudden, things go terribly wrong, and you're out of it, or you're injured, or something has gotten you off kilter, and all of that is part of coaching, is recognizing that and just trying to stay on top of it and keep guys going.
Steve, how would you compare Jonathan Kuminga at the beginning of this year to the Jonathan Kuminga you have now?
Well, I think he's just he's so much more experienced now in terms of understanding what's happening out on the floor, especially defensively. We've asked him to guard some of the toughest matchups in the league, and a year ago he would commit a lot of fouls. Like if we put him on Chris Paul and they were in the bonus, he'd be all over Chris Paul, and Chris would do the swipe through and walk to the foul line to shoot his 2 free throws, and because Jonathan would have his hand in the wrong spot. This year, he understands, okay, bonus, Chris Paul, swipe through, I'm not sticking my hand in there, I'm not going to commit that foul. And that just comes with experience, but you got to know the whole league. You got to know all of your opponents, you got to know their tricks, and that can only happen if you get to play against these guys night after night and see all the patterns that you see, around the league, and pick and roll coverage and post up coverage and all the different things that you see. And so the experience has made him a lot wiser.
Steve, I've heard you say you like to use Dante in any lineup, and I can see why. I mean, he rebounds with a vengeance, and he can distribute. Is there any matchup or is there any group of players that you think he excels most with? Because DiVincenzo, I think, could be really special in these playoffs.
Yeah, well, again, that's what I love about him is we can put him with anybody, and you can't say that about all of our guys or most players. In fact, you have to sort of put them in the right combinations based on their skill sets. But Dante he's a complete player. You can play him at either guard spot, so you can draw up an ATO where he's handling the ball or coming off a screen and shooting it or setting a screen. He understands the timing and the rhythm of all these actions, and then he's the first guy to the loose ball, the long rebound. He plays defense with such great energy and force, and that's why our crowd loves him. They see the effort night in and night out, the energy that he brings, and that's why the players love him too.
Steve, a lot being made of the energy that's going to be in the building Saturday night. Look, they haven't been in the playoffs in 16 years. It's a pretty good crowd. But I'm also sitting here thinking, you went to Boston last year and you won road games in the NBA Finals. I know it's a different team, but a road environment in the playoffs for the team you have, is that even a thing anymore?
It is. It's a thing in that it gets us going. I think our guys thrive on the road in the playoffs. I know we've won at least one road game in 27 straight series, which is by far an NBA record. Raymond reminds me that every time we win a road game in the playoff series, he reminds me that number. But we've had so many of these over the years. I remember Game 1 in Toronto. The first time the finals ever made it to Canada, and the atmosphere that night was just incredible, and we love it. It's so much fun to play in those environments, and I think Saturday will be very similar. It's been a long drought in Sacramento, and they're back in the postseason, and the crowd's going to be going crazy. It's going to be really fun.
I don't want to comment on one comment, but there was a few weeks ago, I think it was the Denver game, and you just looked so pissed in the post game. and you said, and I can remember you're like, hey, we from the mid-second quarter till the 4-minute mark in this game, our guys were mindless out there. And it was such a harsh criticism. And I'm just kind of wondering, Anybody want to talk about that comment to you? Did you have to clarify any of that? Did you feel like, man, that was harsh in the moment? Or did you think it was a strong comment that helped your team?
No, it was a valid comment, and the guys would agree. And you know, anything that I say like that is always with the best of intentions, and you know, there's never anything personal. It's just the observation. This is where our team is. This is what we're doing. And the guys would admit we let our guard down in that game. We had some really bad possessions at both ends, and the game flipped, and that's all it takes in the NBA. So they obviously responded well, and you know, we ended the season on a good note, and as I said, I think we're in a really good place now heading into the playoffs.
All right, Coach. Warriors in 6. Does that sound about right?
Don't try to do this to me, guys. You can make your own predictions, and I'm going to keep my mouth shut. That's how this works.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. But we will be looking for that Wiggins plan, and yeah, we'll talk more about it next week. But Steve, thank you so much. Great to have you as always.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Steve.
All right, there he is. Steve Kerr right here on 95.7 The Games.